Would you consider Invictus a wild thing that you kind of in your career was this an interesting choice for you, or do you feel like it's natural to have done a sports film?
Well, it seemed natural at the time. It was a story. It was a good story, a story I'd like to tell about a person I'd like to talk about, and then as I became familiar with the material and realized that that there are other great characters in there, from the Francois Pienaar character and all the various players of the Springboks team of 1995, and it was great. It was to take him from being in prison and then coming out of prison and seeing it unwind the way he approached being president of the country was very, very interesting.
I'm assuming that you've met Mr. Mandela like many times, and so
I haven't. I've only met him once.
And what was that experience like for you? And when if you're directing a film that has a character of Nelson Mandela in it, do you observe him in a way that you can kind of take some of that stuff that you can put onto the screen?
Well, I observe him only on film and watching him on a lot of film. But Morgan knew quite a bit about him, and I had heard Nelson Mandela speak on many occasions, but always on film, newsreels, news programs, what have you. And so I had to go by that. Morgan had a little bit advantage in the sense that he knew him, and Nelson Mandela had even talked about him playing him at one time or another. So they had a sort of a bond. Though I met him after I was about halfway through the film, so it was too late. If I'd made a wrong impression, there was nothing I could do about it. But I hadn't. I liked him very much. He's a very charismatic guy, but I didn't know this story when it first came out. When I first read this, and Morgan had brought it to me, I said, "This is an amazing story." And it's one of those things where truth is stranger than fiction. But how does a guy come out of prison and forgive all these people like he does, and take this whole attitude he had towards reconciliation? But how does he bet on this rugby team, which hasn't played an international match in some years due to a boycott of apartheid? So these are a lot of questions to be answered, and so it was fun to be the guy who's supposed to be answering it.
I love the idea that something as simple as a game can really unite people who are from opposing, sides of things. And so I don't have that relationship with sports, but maybe if you can explain why something like this could bring a nation together.
Well, I just think that that you'd think that he was, because he was the black majority now, and he's the president of a black majority, that he would pick soccer or the game of the black majority. But he picked this. They happened to be the host nation for the Rugby World Cup. He had played some rugby when he was a kid, and so he was familiar with the sport. And when he saw this team, and he saw the team was sort of floundering and not looking that sharp, he went about establishing a relationship with the captain of the team and tried to inspire them, and he inspires them to go all the way. And it's kind of an amazing story in the sense that that's a big gamble. Supposing he spent all this time and it had failed, and all his associates, much like in the picture, they all saying, "Well, what are you doing, wasting all your time with this for? There's no chance, a little chance of this being anything." But he was dogmatic, and proceeded forward with and it certainly wasn't on anything he had in here. It must have been something he had down here. It was how he knew something great could happen out of there.
When you were shooting the film down in South Africa, did you feel how important this story was to the people there, or do you feel like they've advanced to the point where this is just a part of their,
No, the story is very important. It's very important to them. Of course, a lot of the people we were dealing with were active rugby players and so forth, but also the South African actors that we use all were very nostalgic about this event. Everybody, it isn't that long ago in '95, so people have great memories of it, and they know that it was the beginning of reconciliation, and how far it will go, we can only root for. We don't know, but it's it was a great moment in time there. And I talked to Jack Clark, who was the coach of the rugby team at the University of California in Berkeley, and he was a spectator there for the World Cup in '95, and he sort of gave me an overview from an outsider, because though he's very knowledgeable in rugby, he was looking at it from an outsider's point of view, and he said that it was an amazing event in time, for an amazing event anyway, but especially amazing for South Africa.
When you work with two actors like Morgan and Matt, do you, how much direction do you give them? And in the sense that, do you tell them what you need and then let them kind of blossom, or do you feel like, I don't know, how do you?
Well, I block the scenes, but basically, these are people that I have great respect for, and I feel that they can do the job. And I didn't know Matt as well as I know Morgan at that time, especially, but I knew Morgan is one of those guys who comes thoroughly prepared. I had heard that Matt was, and found out that he was, and he volunteered. He wanted to go over there early so he could meet with Francois Pienaar and get a feeling of Pienaar as a person, and how he spoke and how he acted and how his feeling is about rugby and the game, and the relationship between he and Mandela. So he learned a lot. He took it upon himself to learn a lot. And I always encourage actors to research as much as they want. And sometimes I'll do films where I don't rehearse hardly at all, and other films I'll do. I remember Mystic River, the cast, some of the actors said, "Do you mind if we rehearse on our own, just kind of practice?" I said, "Absolutely not," because they wanted to get that Bostonian accent. And we had Boston actors there that they could mingle with and absorb that. So I always love it when actors will take upon themselves to go above and beyond. And it's no brilliant thing on my part. I just hire the right people. The best thing I do, I like to say, and I could say it was without seeming too arrogant, is cast properly. And if you cast a film properly, great things happen. And if you cast it improperly, you're sort of fighting for rhythm, you're fighting for tempo, you're fighting for a lot of things. But even with good actors, you have to control the tempo. You have to tell them how you see certain scenes, and if the scene seems like it's dragging or doesn't have a certain amount of energy, you can do little tidbits along the way, but these guys they're all professional people, and they're going to bring their very best to you. And when I was an actor working, I always liked it when the director shut up and let me bring something to him. And if there's something wrong with it, then please tell me. But let me at least show you my product here. And then if something doesn't seem right, then go ahead and give me a good critique. And that's the way these fellas are. They're all everybody. You just tell them basically what you ask. You just tell them what you want, and they know what you want anyway, because they know the screenplay by this point. And if there's something they're missing, and you bring it up to them, but it's not a big deal like you're going back to acting 101 or something.